A little known fact about Justice Vishwanath: he was, in fact, from the first batch of this 5-year program of the combined LLB, introduced in Coimbatore Law College. And I think today is the testament to the fact that the strength and achievement of reforms in our legal education, from changing from 3-year LLB to 5-year LLB. Throughout your career, you have been a formidable force in the courtroom, a thoughtful and encouraging mentor to your juniors and briefing counsel. Although a demanding senior, you have been cherished. Your integrity, versatility, and solution-oriented approach is evidenced by your appointment as amicus curiae in numerous noteworthy cases. When faced with challenges to independence of judiciary, you did not hesitate to speak out. I have no doubt that you will serve the nation well. As we move forward, facing the ever-evolving legal landscape, we look up to both of you, Justice Misra and Justice Viswanathan, for your wisdom, insight, and leadership. Your presence in the Supreme Court bench will undoubtedly enrich our collective understanding of law, which will guide us in pursuit of justice. We wish both of you remarkable tenure. Thank you.
May I request Mr. Manish Goswami to present a sampling to Mr. R. Venkatramani, the Attorney General for India. May I request Mr. R. Venkatramani, the Attorney General for India, to kindly deliver his address.
My apologies for being late to arrive. There's a lot of on a pleasant evening to welcome two endearing judges to this honorable court. And then there's a problem. If I will have to divide my attention to both of them on an equal basis. And I can't be partial, because I know if I talk about just Vishwanathan because I have a Madrasi bias, there's a problem. But I know him more and so well, and but that does not mean that Justice Mishra will have less space for my talk today. We find that, of course, every judge who adorns this honorable court comes from different parts of a country. And each one of our parts carry their own relevance and significance for their own personal history and how they reach the pinnacles of their profession and reach this court. And that's the grandeur and the beauty of the diversity we celebrate as part of our Supreme Court presence. And with the two honorable judges we are today, both of them come from two very different, diverse places. One comes from, Justice Vishwanathan comes from Coimbatore. His place of birth is very near Coimbatore. So it is in Tamil Nadu. There are very interesting divisions even among the upper caste, Brahmins. So Palghat Brahmins are very bright. They constitute the creamy layers of the Brahmins in Tamil Nadu. So he comes from the Palghat area. But I'm not going to talk about him as a Brahmin, right? And, so that's not our focus. Long years ago, when he moved to the Supreme Court practice, my own senior, revered senior, Mr. P.P. Rao, was heading an organization called the United Lawyers Association. And we used to have periodic meetings, seminars, conferences. somewhere around 91 or 92 in one of those conferences, seminars, Mr. Rao called me and said, look at this very bright young boy, Vishwanathan. I think we must watch him. And he has made it to the court today. And if Mr. P.P. Rao is here today, he would have been the most delighted person to see somebody like Vishwanathan adorning this Honorable Supreme Court. And many of us have our own professional trajectories. Destiny otherwise brings it, takes us somewhere first and then pushes into some other, avenues. So just Vishwanathan went and probably tried to find out if Mr. Lakshmi Kumaran would be his way into the higher echelons of the profession, but then soon Destiny told him that that's not to be so. And then he takes him to my very dear friend, Mr. Vaidyanathan, then on to Mr. Venugopal. And I thought that Vishwanathan is a very interesting name in South India. I'm not going into the dictionary meaning of the name because it's, after all, the Lord of the universe. But in sports, we had Vishwanathan Anand. Then in music, we had M.S. Vishwanathan, the music director. Then when Radha Vishwanathan was the daughter of M.S. Subbulakshmi, is also in music. Then I thought the field of law was empty. And then we had Vishwanathan here today. So I'm so glad. Then I looked at Vishwanathan's persons with famous names, Vishwanathan, all over the world. They're very interesting persons, and I'm so glad that the legal fraternity has somebody like him. And I'll certainly, the court will be benefited by his long presence and his long exposure to Supreme Court as an arbiter of a wide range of concerns and issues in our country. I welcome him on behalf of the Supreme Court Bar Association and on my own behalf as a very good friend, and I'm sure our working arrangements as an Attorney General and as a member of the bar and as a judge will be at a very highest level of intellectual camaraderie. Then switching over to Coimbatore, come to Raigarh. Not many of us would like to know what is Raigarh, what is Raipur. Chhattisgarh, before it became part of a different state in our country. We all know about the red areas of our country, the red guard areas. Raipur, I remember going way back in 1986-87. The Raipur of 86 is no longer the Raipur of today. And the challenges which Chhattisgarh faced and continues to face in some areas continue to be problematic issues for our country. In some parts of Chhattisgarh, some parts of Jharkhand, and some parts of border areas of Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra and Orissa. So they are very serious issues. And to come from one of those areas and studied in a university, in a very famous university, in an area like this. Again, it's a question of being able to come up, and then in the midst of all those challenges, I think the credit must go to Justice Mishra for being with us today after walking a long path. And then our Supreme Court must do justice for all the high courts. So we had few high courts earlier, therefore you can easily have distributive justice. But you have more judges, more high courts, the problem of distributive justice and the presence of judges from various high courts is also a question, a very important question, very interesting how people, therefore in the midst of all that, if you can see somebody walking from Chhattisgarh to Supreme Court, and very importantly, I'll just close my address by saying this, post-2014, the division of Andhra Pradesh state has still not left the two states, problem-free. And he goes to head the High Court of Andhra Pradesh at a time when very challenging, deeply challenging issues were confronting the High Court and the governance together. And going by the judgments which Lordship has delivered as the Chief Justice of Andhra High Court in some other areas where I'm very familiar with, I am deeply impressed by the balance and the mature wisdom which he has been able to bring into them. And therefore, I am, with great pleasure, on behalf of the Supreme Court Bar Association, I welcome both the honorable judges to be part of this wonderful legal fraternity and be with us and share your great experiences. So thank you so much.
May I request Mr. Kumar Gaurav to present a sapling to Mr. Tushar Mehta, London Solicitor General of India. May I request Dr. Adis Agrawala, President SCBA, to kindly deliver his address.
Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, Honorable Mr. Justice Prashant Kumar Mishra and family members, Honorable Mr. Justice K.V. Viswanathan and family members, and other honorable judges of Supreme Court, Honorable Mrs. Justice Gyan Sudha Mishra, former Judge of Supreme Court, Learned Shri R. Venkataramani, Attorney General for India, Learned Mr. Tushar Mehta, Solicitor General for India, Learned Additional Solicitor Generals for India, Mr. P.H. Parikh, 6-term President and 10 times SCORA President, Mr. Our Apurva Kumar Sharma, who is the Executive Committee Chairman and earlier so many positions in Bar Council and High Court Bar Association from Bar Council of India. And today we are lucky to have Mr. A.K. Ganguly, Senior Advocate. We are not mentioning you here only as Senior Advocate, but as President of International Union of Advocates, which is international organization, Mr. Aruneshwar Gupta, Mr. Bimal Jaid, Mr. Jaideep Gupta, and other my brothers and sisters in the legal profession, including my executive committee members of SCBA and SCORA. We have gathered today to celebrate the presence of two of the finest legal luminaries on the bench of the Apex Court, Mr. Justice Prashant Kumar Mishra and Mr. Justice K.V. Viswanathan. Mr. Justice Mishra brings with him a rich judicial experience, having worked in diverse jurisdictions as judge of Chhattis High Court and later as Chief Justice of Andhra Pradesh High Court. He has delivered groundbreaking judgments in the field of constitutional law and others. Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., who was judge of the American Supreme Court, had said, "The life of law has not been logic, it has been experience." It is this experience that empowers Justice Mishra to continue the admirable work in the Supreme Court too. I fondly remember that your Lordship served as the Chairman of Bar Council of Chhattisgarh and I worked as Vice Chairman of Bar Council of India. Mr. Justice K.V. Viswanathan, of course, has been the darling of the bar. He has been a leading practitioner in the Supreme Court, and there are numerous judgments on a wide range of subjects which his arguments helped the growth of law. He is an expert in constitutional law, criminal law, corporate laws, and also civil law. There is no subject which he has not dominated in. If one had to think of someone suitable for the direct elevation from the bar to the Supreme Court, his name would always be on the forefront as the most deserving of all. It is the commitment of Justice Viswanathan to the service of society that made him give up a roaring practice as an eminent and distinguished senior advocate and to take up the temperate life of a judge. He is a recipient of National Lode Award in Vigyan Bhavan from the head of the government. Both these honorable judges are known for their intellect and uncompromising hard work, and for bringing them to the benches of the Supreme Court. Full credit goes to the Honorable Chief Justice of India, Mr. Justice Chandrachud. Often, an outsider may feel that in selecting a person for the post of Supreme Court judge, the Chief Justice of India has to call a collegium meeting and simply put out a name. But the actual process is far more complicated than this. There are several factors that are to be taken into consideration before the names are finally picked. The position of the Supreme Court judge obviously carries the highest responsibilities, and to identify someone who meets the criteria is clearly an intricate job. In this matter, I must say the collegium headed by the present Chief Justice of India, Dr. D.Y. Chandrachud, have made sterling choices to bring the crown jewels of the judiciary to the Supreme Court. Many of the judges will have long tenures and will be able to greatly contribute to the judicial system with their experience and knowledge. It is very easy to recommend the names from the judiciary, but it is the most difficult job to recommend the name from our bar. Not only this, Justice Chandrachud has taken the Supreme Court to new heights with his grip over the administration, his politeness in speaking to lawyers and litigants, and fairness in dealing with cases. His judgments exhibit his ability to break down complex issues into simple propositions and to apply the law in words which can be easily understood by a person untrained in law. With use of technology, he has opened the doors of the Supreme Court, redefining the concept of an open court. The measures adopted by him have enhanced the reputation of the Supreme Court for its independence and has deepened the faith of the public in its efficiency as a machinery of dispensation of justice. Mr. Justice Chandrachud has a vision for delivering of justice, and we hope that this vision will be shared and carried forward by our other honorable judges. Lastly, I want to say that in felicitating the new judges, I am joined by all members of the Supreme Court Bar Association. Without their unflinching support, I would not be able to stand here. I must thank all of you. I was overwhelmed that on 9th July at SCBA Presidential Banquet at Ashoka Road, New Delhi, approximately 6,000 well-wishers from the legal fraternity in attendance in spite of heavy rains. The guests including the chairman, vice chairman, executive chairman of Bar Council of India and different state bar councils and office bearers of High Court Bar Associations and District Bar Associations from different parts of the country. I am thankful to all of you for your words of encouragement and your participation. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Honorable the Chief Justice of India, sir, we are really happy from the heart that you had recommended two highly capable personalities to dispense the duties of the judges of Supreme Court of India. Sir, you have proved yourself many times as the head of the institution. You have once again proved कि हीरे की परख जोहरी को होती है. With this, may I request Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, Honorable the Chief Justice of India, to kindly deliver his address.
My very distinguished colleagues, Justice Prashant Kumar Mishra and Justice K.V. Vishwanathan. In Marathi, we will call them Utsav Murti for today. Apart from the two Utsav Murtis who are on the dais, my very distinguished colleagues in the audience, Mr. R. Venkatramani, Learned Attorney General for India, Mr. Tushar Mehta, the Learned Solicitor General, Dr. Adish Agarwala, President of the SCBA, Mr. Sukumar Pattajoshi, Vice President of SCBA, Mr. Rohit Pandey, Secretary of SCBA, all the office bearers of SCBA, of SCORA, Justice Gyansudha Mishra, former Judge of the Supreme Court of India, senior members of the bar, officers of the registry, ladies and gentlemen. Well, I accept with gratitude the credit which has been given to me for the appointment of these two distinguished judges of the Supreme Court. But I will accept the accolade on behalf of all those who are part of the process, which includes all my colleagues, not just in the collegium, but beyond, because in all the appointments which we have made, we have extensively consulted all the judges of the Supreme Court. So everyone who comes to the Supreme Court and has come to the Supreme Court in the recent past commands the respect and the affection and the sense of belonging of all the judges of the Supreme Court. We must also accept the fact that the government is a stakeholder in the process. And in these appointments which have come through in less than 72 hours after the names were recommended, I think we have sent a message that the collegium is vibrant, active, and committed to its task. Well, these two brothers who come to the bench bring together with them a tradition of continuity and a freshness of ideas. Members of the bar who come to the bench bring a freshness of ideas. They have been deeply associated with the legal profession until a short while ago. Members who come from the district judiciary to the High Court and from the High Courts to the Supreme Court, on the other hand, bring a tradition of continuity. Both are equally important for the survival of the institution. Sometimes people like me I spent 16 years as a judge of the High Court before I was elevated to the Supreme Court. In so many ways, you become a part of the system. And the constant challenge for people who have been judges for so long is not to get overwhelmed by being part of the system for so long. Members of the bar, on the other hand, who come to hold high judicial office, have the drive, they have the initiative, because they have seen face to face the realities of life right up to the point of time when they were appointed. Speaking about Brother Prashant Kumar Mishra, he belongs to Raigad. Not Raigad in Maharashtra, as I would have wished him to belong, but Raigad in Chhattisgarh, which is known as the cultural city of Chhattisgarh. Chhattisgarh itself has almost a 32% tribal population, as brother was sharing with me, and Raigad is in so many ways its tribal seat. Brother Prashant Kumar Mishra studied in a municipal primary school. So he began his life with very humble origins, which is again a reminder of the fact that the judges who come to the Supreme Court are deeply connected with social reality in India. He thereafter studied in government colleges. He has been the first judge of Chhattisgarh to be elevated from, the first judge of the Supreme Court to be elevated from the Chhattisgarh High Court. So in that sense, Brother Prashant Kumar Mishra represents the yearning of a comparatively new state, because of course our nation has a long history. And in that sense, he reflects the aspirations of the younger generation, of the members of the legal profession, who can aspire to follow in his footsteps. So his appointment must not be just looked at from the perspective of the success of a professional who has risen to occupy the office of a judge of the highest court of the land, but in terms of laying in his footprints the formula for success for others who will follow in his path. He was appointed in 2009 and has had a long career of 14 years. 14 years is a very long period of time for a judge to hold judicial office, because you do everything in a repetitive manner, and it is so easy to become jaded by doing the same things over and over again. But he has never become jaded. And one thing which I must notice about him, which all of you have already noticed, because the bar works out judges as quickly as ever, is that his smile never leaves him, whether in or off the court. As the Chief Justice of the Andhra Pradesh High Court, he commanded the respect of the members of the bar. He was credited with solving numerous problems of the employees of the High Court, which showed his human face in that court. So in that sense, he comes with a track record which speaks for itself, and I'm sure that he will contribute in so many ways to the great tradition of the Supreme Court of India. About Justice Viswanathan, I don't know whether I should introduce him as the father of Suvarna, because really speaking, I should be introducing him as the father of Suvarna, because anybody who watched this brilliant Arangetram recital by her, she's the disciple of Guru Saroja Vaidyanathan, and anyone who watched that danced performance a few days ago will truly want to introduce him as the father of Suvarna. But I'm sure he'll be a proud father if I say that, and as I say that. Justice Viswanathan has been an ideal and a mentor to young members of the bar. His life and his journey in so many which ways is again an ideal, because it shows that someone who came from afar, from Coimbatore and Ooty, to set up practice in faraway Delhi in those days. You must realize that that was not 2023, but the days when he came, can yet come to a different city, a different cultural tradition, a different legal profession, and yet succeed in the profession by dint of hard work. But above all, I think he has contributed to building a team of young lawyers. The value of a leader is always judged not just in terms of the work which the leader does, but in terms of building a team which he leaves behind after him, after he has left that part of the chapter of life, in his case, the chapter of being a senior counsel. And it is this ability of Justice Viswanathan, and I dare say Justice Narasimha also, our two distinguished members drawn from the bar, that really sets them apart in terms of what they have left behind in the bar, of the young band of lawyers whom they have trained and who will now carry on the baton which they have given over. But for Justice Viswanathan, looking at him personally, I think that his image as a lawyer indicates that being brash and ostentatious are not the hallmarks for success in the Supreme Court bar. If at all, he is the very antithesis of being brash and ostentatious, so understated in his elegance and so simple in his approach, and yet so successful. He has been amicus curiae in so many different cases. He has been associated with academic areas of law, which shows that he has interest apart from just his daily briefs. He has had the strength of character to stand by the court when there have been attacks on our independence. Looking at Justice Viswanathan's arguments, as I would reflect having left the court, I would find that Justice Viswanathan's arguments were always in layers. The first layer of his arguments or submissions in the court was the immediate, the facts. He had to do justice to his client. That was the first layer at which he addressed the court. The second layer at which Justice Viswanathan addressed the court was the anticipated. The first, as I said, was the immediate. The second was the anticipated. The anticipated from the bench, the anticipated from his opponents. But the third, and that's what really sets him apart, is the vision and the ability to go beyond either the immediate or the anticipated into what is his vision of the case. And that vision he left for you as a judge to evolve. He never imposed upon your mind. He gave you the seeds of the vision and allowed you to develop that vision. And I think that, to my mind, I observed him in so many different cases appearing before us, whether it was a constitutional issue, whether it was under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code, some issue in criminal jurisprudence. And these were really his hallmarks. Well, we are here to hear both the learned judges, so I'll not keep you any further from listening to them. But I have, in the tradition which I have set in the past few weeks, a small couplet for each of them. For Justice Prashant Kumar Mishra, I have a couplet from Andalip Shadani, who says, देर लगी आने में तुमको, देर लगी आने में तुमको, शुक्र है फिर भी आए तो, देर लगी आने में तुमको, शुक्र है फिर भी आए तो, आस ने दिल का साथ न छोड़ा, वैसे हम घबराए तो. Now for Justice Viswanathan, I'll quote from Wasim Barelvi when he says, तुम आ गए हो तो कुछ चांदनी सी बातें हों, तुम आ गए हो तो कुछ चांदनी सी बातें हों, जमीन पे चांद कहाँ रोज रोज उतरता है. Namaskar, and thank you very much for giving me this honor.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Honorable Mr. Justice Prashant Kumar Mishra, we are delighted to have you on the bench. Sir, we sincerely hope that with your cooperation and guidance, the bar and bench will take its steps towards the all-over betterment of the legal fraternity. Now may I request Honorable Mr. Justice Prashant Kumar Mishra, Justice Supreme Court of India, to deliver his address.
Honorable the Chief Justice of India, Dr. Chandrachud, my brother on the bench, on the dais, Justice Viswanathan, Lord Attorney General Sri R. Venkataramani, Solicitor General Sri Tushar Mehtaji, Sri Adis Agarwal, President, Supreme Court Bar Association, Sri Pat Joshi, the Vice President of the SCBA, Sri Rohit Pandey, Secretary SCBA, President Skora and other office bearers, learned senior advocates, members of the bar, my esteemed brothers of the dais, extremely delighted to be here amongst the fraternity, my own fraternity. In fact, I was jealous of Justice Viswanathan when everybody calling him as a member of the bar and bar product. I am also product of the bar. In fact, my days with the bar as such begins in 1987 when I was practicing in district court at Raigarh for about 2 years. That's a tribal state, small tribal town. And then I shifted to Jabalpur in 1989 and I was junior to Justice P.P. Navlekar. And then I came back to my native place in 2000 when the separate state and separate high court was created. And my association with the bar grew further in Chhattisgarh when in 2002 I contested the election for the member of the State Bar Council. That was the first election in the new state and new high court and new bar council. And I was the first candidate to be elected with the first preference votes. I secured the highest number of first preference votes in that election. By referring that, I am not claiming that I was very popular. But what I want to convey is that the members of the bar had trust in me. They had trust in me and they have found that in a new state, I am the first amongst the lawyers who can be elected and sent as their member. And believe me, when I was elected as chairman bar council, I was elected unopposed. In a bar council, to be elected unopposed is a very, very rare thing. As chairman in a small state, you know, the lawyers would know that in bar council, there would be 25 members and every 3-4 members would form a group and all will pull the leg of the other group. And Brother Adis Agrawal knows it better. When I was the chairman of the State Bar Council, he was the vice president of the Bar Council of India and he visited Chhattisgarh at that time. We have shared dais in one program. But having said that, it was a great experience with the bar in Chhattisgarh, and that contributed me when I left. When I left the active practice on the private side and joined the office of Additional Advocate General, then a different kind of experience was there on the other side, and when I became the Advocate General, I was the first among the lawyer in 2 capacity as Chairman Bar Council and as Advocate General. And why I am referring again and again to these incidents or events in my life is that I can assure you that on the bench, I will not do anything which will demean or discourage the members of the bar. And I am one of the ardent advocate of the bar and bench relationship. According to me, nothing can move in our judicial system without the active cooperation of the bar. And it is the bar who produces good judges and good judgments also. We always say and we blame also that if our judgment is not good, the blame lies on the bar, because they have not rendered proper assistance in one way. Anyway, I'm extremely delighted and I am really thankful to the Honorable Chief Justice of India and the Collegium and all judges of Honorable Supreme Court who have reposed faith in me, and faith in the sense, and Honorable Justice, Honorable CGI said, this Urdu couplet, it is never late. God Almighty has created and selected the time for every event to happen in life. When the incident happens, that is the right time to happen. And my Lord, the Chief Justice of India has bestowed his trust on me at the right moment, and I will not let the collegium down or the members of the bar down, and I will try my level best to see that the flag of this court flies high in times to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Being a justice, holding experience of a bar leader, your valuable suggestions towards the bar will benefit its members. And sir, whenever it will be needed, we will come to you, and you may guide us less like a justice, more like a leader. Honorable Mr. Justice K.V. Viswanathan, sir, from the day of your elevation, I have witnessed the members of the bar in corridors of Supreme Court taking your name proudly and expressing their comfort to appear before your lordship, being so much familiar to you. With this, may I now request Honorable Mr. Justice K.V. Viswanathan, Judge Supreme Court of India, to deliver his verdict.
My Lord, the Honorable Chief Justice of India, Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud, my dear brother judges, Sister Gyansudha Ji, former Judge of the Supreme Court, Mr. R. Venkatramani, Attorney General for India, Mr. Tushar Mehta, Solicitor General for India, President of the Supreme Court Bar Association, Mr. Dr. Adish Agarwala, Shri Sukumar Padjoshi, Secretary, Supreme Court Bar Association, Rohit Pandey, Sukumar Padjoshi, Vice President, Rohit Pandey, Secretary, Manoj Mishra, President of the Advocates on Record Association, members of the Executive Committee of the SCBA, members of the Executive Committee of SCORA, family members of Justice Prashant Mishra, Justice Prashant Mishra, who is on the dais with me, distinguished senior advocates, friends, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to you. I am totally overwhelmed by the warm response that you have given me and that you have given to my appointment to the Supreme Court of India. Thank you for holding this felicitation function, because it has given me an opportunity to come back to the bar. I was thinking, Chief Justice, as to what would be the equivalent of this. And the nearest I could imagine sitting here was perhaps what a bride would undergo at the Pakfera ceremony when she comes back 3 days after the wedding. Thank you, friends. It's truly been overwhelming. I've been an integral part of the Bar Association. Day after day, I've been here, been at the library, been at the courts, I've been gossiping in the corridor, I've been at the canteen, I've been pulling the legs of most of you, I've been very kind to laugh at my jokes. It is still not sunk in that I am now a judge of the Supreme Court. To be very honest, It is only when the protocol hovers around me, I suddenly realize that, look, I am a judge now. I have to do my work a little carefully. That will settle down, but all this was unimaginable, Chief Justice. I told you at our meeting on 12th that 55 years back at Sainik School, Amaravati Nagar, we have this practice of the morning assembly where the news is read out. The teacher would be there, the monitor would be there, the prefect. And it was 1977 when the senior Y.V. Chandrachud was the Chief Justice of India. And there was a news item. The news would be read and the question would be, who is the Chief Justice of India? And having some aptitude for law, my father was a prosecutor then, I was aware of it and I got up from the huge assembly at the 7th standard and mentioned, it's Justice Y.V. Chandrachud. And there was an applause. But little did I realize, and it's still not sunk in, that I would be sworn in by Dr. Justice D.Y. Chandrachud. It was far, far removed from the mind. It was not even thought of. I enjoyed every minute at the bar. 8 out of 10 days, I would have really jumped out of bed if there was a case which was worked out or reasonably worked out. But then I have a lot of people to thank. Unlike the judges who come from the High Court, who would have thanked at that point, I am not going to let go this felicitation that easily. I express my deep gratitude, Chief Justice, to you and the members of the Collegium, Justice Sanjay Kaul, Justice K.M. Joseph, Justice Ajay Rastogi, and Justice Sanjeev Khanna, and all the brother and sister judges for reposing the trust, as Brother Mishra rightly said, in us, and considering us equal to the enormous task that you have bestowed upon me. The gracious words of the Collegium resolution makes very happy reading, and I occasionally will be lying if I tell you that I don't take it and read it once in a while. But Chief Justice, it is also proving to be a not so gentle wake-up call every morning. It just put that fear in you that a lot is expected and you jolly well deliver. I will be failing in my duty if I don't thank Chief Justice Uday Umesh Lalit and Justice Rohinton Fali Nariman, who somehow believed that I would make a reasonably good judge. I only wish and pray for your benefit that their prayers come true. I have my professional gurus to thank. First, Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan, with whom I spent 2 years in 1988 to 1990. He was a hard taskmaster, but a very affectionate elder brother. He was very businesslike in his dealings. And with him, we not only learned the nuances of drafting and nuances of the law, but even the method of proper conversation. I remember when he told me early on to prepare a writ petition challenging the validity of the then existing Section 23 of the Hindu Succession Act, which had then provided that a female member to sue for partition of a dwelling house to tag along a male member, which is since deleted, fortunately. High courts had taken the view in a conflicting manner, so I had borrowed from the high courts which had struck it down and prepared a writ petition, went up to him and said, sir, this is the draft, and I think it has come out very well. So he said, that is for me to say, you leave it here. Thereafter, Mr. K.K. Venugopal, who gave me tremendous opportunities to work on matters of great moment and significance. He is a parental figure to whom we go as a family for advice on matters of importance for our family. I have Mr. K. Ramachandran, my senior in Coimbatore, in whose office I spent 5 years of my law college and a brief period thereafter, who gave me grounding in criminal law. I thank my revered parents, my wife Jayashree and Sukanya, who are here,
and Suvarna, whom the Chief Justice mentioned, who is now in college since 10th of July at Bangalore. I am deeply beholden to the Supreme Court bar. I will be failing in my duty if I don't thank my teachers, my juniors, my personal staff, particularly Mr. Nagaraj, who through the bar was a pillar of support for me. Chief, I have closely listened to your lectures, and I find one name which you mentioned is Mr. Milind Sakar Dande, who helped you along, whose chamber, you were not your chamber senior, but a well-wisher. I had one, and Justice Butt will bear me out on that, Mr. K.R. Nambiar, who is happily settled in Mangalore now, who threw open his chamber for us. We started by keeping our coat and gown, and slowly, as you know, as things happen, we got to the table. And it so happened that he would wait for us to come back and then only have his lunch. We became that close. Not only that, I remember a matter in the National Consumer Disputes Redressal Commission where he was for defendant number 1, the Kerala Financial Corporation, and he was also briefed for the Kerala Electricity Board. He told me to file the Wakalatnama for the Kerala State Electricity Board. I told him, I don't see a conflict. You file, sir, I will appear for you. He said, no, you file it. So I filed the Wakalat, and then I had forgotten about it because the OP was dismissed. After a month, he asked me, have you sent the bill to the Kerala State Electricity Board? I told him, sir, that's not my business. You send it. I went because you asked me, it was an opportunity for me. He said, no, you send it. With great reluctance, I sent the bill, but then as promptly it would happen, the next set of revision petitions to be filed for the Kerala State Electricity Board were sent directly to my address. There were a large number of them which followed. So I quickly rushed to him and I told him that this is what I feared. I don't want this. It is your important client. You take it. He said that was the whole idea. The whole idea was to see that you start appearing for them. So these are very rare people, Chief Justice, who come along in your life and who help you along, apart from your professional seniors. And I think each one of us have a duty to, encourage a junior along, even if not part of your chamber. I will keep it short, but I have 3 specific instances which I need to mention to show how intimately I have been associated with the Bar Association, apart from merely coming in the morning and going back in the evening. I was, and believe it or not, an elected member of the Executive Committee of the Supreme Court Bar Association in 1994-95, and that was not a good enough reason for me to recuse from this felicitation. Secondly, one ILR volume in the Supreme Court Bar Library altered the course of my career and has played a significant part in the trajectory of the career path. Chief Justice is very unbelievable, but working with Mr. C.S. Vaidyanathan, I was asked to work for a matter for Mr. Venugopal, who was to go to Jabalpur to challenge the Commission of Inquiry appointed by the state government against the then Chief Minister Arjun Singh. The point was very simple. It was a matter pertaining to income tax, and being a list 1 subject, only union government could have ordered the Commission of Inquiry. It is a matter of legislative competence. The section said that. But Mr. Vaidyanathan told me, you work up the law because Mr. Venugopal would always want the brief to be thoroughly worked up. So that Saturday morning, the whole of Gupta's Commission of Inquiry was read, because that was the only book then. And I found a reference to an ILR Calcutta which discussed the principle behind this issue of competence. It was 2 o'clock, we did not have the ILR volume, and the clerk was deputed to the bar library to find out ILR 77 or 78 Calcutta, which was available. That volume was available of the few volumes in the library of the Supreme Court Bar Association. That led to a Supreme Court judgment. I don't remember, the state of Karnataka versus Union of India, saying the same thing but setting out the principle. So all this was put in a packet, and Ramu was deputed to Mr. Venugopal's office to deliver it. Weekend went by, but Monday evening, Mr. Vaidyanathan told me that Mr. Venugopal liked the note and he wanted me to work for him. So I have a special affection for the Supreme Court Bar because that ILR volume, believe it or not, these are hands of destiny which put me in the office of Mr. Venugopal and changed the dimension of the exposure I had. Thirdly, Supreme Court Bar Association, which has been at the forefront of fighting for the cause of the bar, filed a writ petition when the judgment in V.C. Mishra's case was delivered, which in that judgment, the Supreme Court said they would have the power to directly debar a lawyer. The bar was agreed because it felt that a designated body alone could do that, except where you're confining it to the practice of the court, then the law is you could do it. I drafted that writ petition and the prayer. Don't go and look for faults in it. The prayer is extracted there, and that writ petition got allowed in the Supreme Court Bar Association. All this I mentioned to say because I am totally overwhelmed by the reception and the deep association I have had with you. The Supreme Court Bar Association is different from other bar associations because here you have people drawn from all states. The cream de la cream comes here, and you are an embodiment of what fraternity is. You should just see the corridor, the bar association. You have people from different regions, different religion, different castes coming together in harmony. And I think it is a symbol of fraternity, and fraternity is the most important constitutional value which is embedded in the preamble, and I think you are an example of it. And to be felicitated by an organization of this repute is really a blessing. With these few words, as Brother Mishra, first I felicitate him because he was appointed on the same day that I was appointed. I felicitate you, sir, and congratulate you on your appointment. It's a creditable thing that from Chhattisgarh all the way from Raigad you have made it. I promise you that I will do my very best, not let the collegium down, and deliver to the best extent that is within my means to keep the flag of this honorable court, the Supreme Court of India, flying. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for remembering that you are also the leader of the bar. The members of the bar thrilled to have you as the judge of Supreme Court of India. Your elevation has enhanced the representation of the bar, and we are sure that in the coming days, your support and guidance to the members of the bar will establish an example. Now, may I request Dr. Adis Agrawala, President SCBA, Mr. Sukumar Parjoshi, Vice President SCBA, and senior members of the Executive Committee, Mr. Arjit Prasad, Mr. Jayant Bhushan, Mr. Ranjit Thomas, Mr. Dinesh Kumar Goswami, Mr. Narendra Hutta, Mr. Wasim Kadri, to present a memento and portrait on behalf of the bar to Honorable Mr. Justice Prashant Kumar Mishra, Honorable Mr. Justice K.V. Viswanathan. And I am also requesting to Mr. R. Venkatramani to present a token of honor. May I request Ms. Minesh Dubey, Joint Secretary SCBA, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Rohit Pandey. Before I give the vote of thanks, I would like to reveal one secret, that Justice K.V. Viswanathan was the member executive of SCBA long before. We are grateful to Justice Prashant Kumar Misra and Justice K.V. Viswanathan, Honorable Judges, Supreme Court of India, for accepting our invitation. We are grateful to Madam Mrs. Sucheta Misra, wife of Honorable Mr. Justice Prashant Kumar Misra, Judge, Supreme Court of India, and other family members for accepting our invitation for gracing this occasion. We are also grateful to Madam Mrs. Jayashree Viswanathan, wife of Honorable Mr. Justice K.V. Viswanathan, Judge, Supreme Court of India, and other family members for accepting our invitation for gracing this occasion. We are extremely grateful to Honorable Dr. Justice D.Y. Chanchud, Chief Justice of India, for accepting our invitation to preside over this function. I wish Honorable Mr. Justice Prashant Kumar Misra, Judge, Supreme Court of India, and Honorable Mr. Justice K.V. Viswanathan, Judge, Supreme Court of India, a very successful tenure. I thank Honorable Judges of the Supreme Court of India and Honorable Mrs. Justice Gyan Sudha Misra, former Judge, Supreme Court of India, and Honorable Judges of High Courts for gracing this occasion. I thank Sri R. Venkatramani, London Attorney General for India, Sri Tushar Mehta, London Solicitor General of India, and London law officers, senior advocates, senior members of the bar, and Mr. Devrat, Secretary SCORA, and other office bearer of the SCORA, Mr. Apurv Sharma, Executive Chairman of BCI, for gracing this occasion. I also thank Sri Atul M. Kurekar, London Secretary General, and London Registrar of the Supreme Court of India, press, journalists, print, and electronic media persons. Office bearer of the members of the Executive Committee of different bar association, other distinguished guests, and respected members of the bar for gracing this occasion. I request all of you to kindly join us for high tea. Thank you. I request to all Executive Committee members to come for photograph.
हर बार पीछे हो जाता हूँ।
लो आ गया आर्किटेक्ट साहब।
कुछ समझ नहीं आ रहा, टाइल्स एक्चुअली लगने के बाद दिखेंगी कैसी, इमेजिन करना मुश्किल है।
नो वरीज, है ना सिंपोलो।
सिर्फ सिंपोलो के पास है ये स्मार्ट कोड्स। बस कोई भी टाइल डिजाइन स्कैन करो, साइज चुनो और घर के अलग अलग हिस्से का 360 प्रीव्यू देखो। Visit your nearest Simpolo dealer showroom.
Simpolo Tiles and Bathware. देखते रह जाओगे।
कि मैं पार्टी का कार्यकर्ता हूँ, पार्टी का सांसद हूँ, पर सरकार देश की है। सबके काम जो होने लायक होते हैं सबके करता हूँ। मैंने काम में कभी पॉलिटिक्स नहीं किया। अमेरिकन प्रेसिडेंट जॉन एफ कैनेडी ने कहा था कि अमेरिकन रोड्स आर नॉट गुड बिकॉज अमेरिका इज रिच, बट अमेरिका इज रिच बिकॉज अमेरिकन रोड्स आर गुड। आज हमारे देश में वर्ल्ड की सबसे अत्याधुनिक मशीनरी हमारे देश में है, और मैं ये कह सकता हूँ कि हमारी रोड की क्वालिटी भी इंटरनेशनल स्टैंडर्ड की तुलना में कहीं कम नहीं है। हमने 7 वर्ल्ड रिकॉर्ड किए अभी, और आपको आश्चर्य होगा हमने 5,000 करोड़ रुपए एक प्रोजेक्ट पर बचाए। आजकल लोग मेरे पास इस बात के लिए नहीं आते कि मेरी ज़मीन मत लो हाईवे में, लोग इसलिए आते हैं कि मेरी छोटी ज़मीन बाकी ये भी ले लो। तो आप ऐसी कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, प्रॉब्लम चलते ही रहते हैं, पर मैं अक्सर एक बात याद रखता हूँ कि देयर आर सम पीपल हु कन्वर्ट प्रॉब्लम्स इनटू अपॉर्चुनिटीज एंड देयर आर सम पीपल हु कन्वर्ट अपॉर्चुनिटीज इनटू द प्रॉब्लम्स। आरएसएस किसी को पोलराइज नहीं करता। उपासना पद्धति अलग है, पर मेजॉरिटी हम हिंदू हैं। मेरा कन्विक्शन, मेरी पार्टी, उसको भले भविष्य अच्छा हो या ना हो, पर आई एम विथ माई कन्विक्शन, मैं इसी में रहूंगा। पार्टी छोड़ने का सवाल ही नहीं उठता। और ये भी मैंने कहा था कि अगर ऐसा परिस्थिति रहेगी, हार होती रहेगी तो चलेगा, मैं वक्त आया तो कुएं में कूद जाऊंगा, पर कांग्रेस में नहीं जाऊंगा। मेरे हिसाब से छत्तीसगढ़, मध्य प्रदेश और राजस्थान, इसमें हम 100% जीतेंगे, और तेलंगाना में हमारी स्ट्रेंथ काफी बढ़ेगी।
और 2024
100% जीतेंगे। सही बताओ तो दिल्ली में सब घर पर आलू पराठा और पनीर यही ज्यादा कॉमन होता है।
हाँ।
मुंबई जैसा फूड कहीं नहीं मिलता।
Namaste, Jai Hind. Welcome to another edition of ANI Podcast with Smita Prakash. My guest today is a person many of you have been requesting for me to feature in this podcast, Nitin Gadkari. Nitin Gadkari is a minister in the Modi cabinet and has been called the super achiever and one of the best performers in the Modi cabinet by many newspapers and television channels. Nitin Gadkari, as Minister of Road Transport and Highways, has taken several initiatives which have improved infrastructure and connectivity in India. He is known for his proactive approach to governance and action-oriented work ethics. Always a delight to speak to for any journalist, Minister Nitin Gadkari on the podcast. नितिन जी, धन्यवाद आप हमारे पॉडकास्ट में आए। मैंने इंट्रोडक्शन में यही कहा कि जब से मैंने स्टार्ट किया है ना पॉडकास्ट, तब से वन ऑफ द मोस्ट पॉपुलर पीपल ना कि इनको बुलाइए, उनमें आपका नाम सबसे ऊंचा होता है। तो एवरीबडी वांट्स टू नो, क्योंकि आप हर चीज़ बोल जाते हैं, आप कुछ सरप्राइजिंग कह जाते हैं, आप कुछ मस्ती वाली बातें कर देते हैं, सीरियस डेटा होता है आप। तो जो भी सुन रहा होता है, चाहे जर्नलिस्ट हो चाहे लेमैन हो, सबको कुछ ना कुछ मिल जाता है आपके इंटरव्यू को सुन के। सो थैंक यू वेरी मच पॉडकास्ट में।
थैंक यू।
तो पहले तो मैं बताऊं कि एक आपका स्टेटमेंट था जो मैं जब भी मैं वो देखती हूँ ना, आई बर्स्ट आउट लाफिंग। जब आपने कहा ना, आईड रादर जंप इनटू अ वेल देन जॉइन द कांग्रेस पार्टी, ये आपने कहा था, कई बारी आपने कहा है, पर जब भी मैं पढ़ती हूँ आई फील लाइक लाफिंग। आई थिंक फर्स्ट टाइम वो श्रीकांत जी ने कहा था ना कि राइट मैन इन द रॉन्ग पार्टी।
ऐसा उन्होंने कहा था, तो मैंने उनको नम्रतापूर्वक कहा था कि मेरा कन्विक्शन, मेरी पार्टी, उसको भले भविष्य अच्छा हो या ना हो, पर आई एम विथ माई कन्विक्शन, मैं इसी में रहूंगा। पार्टी छोड़ने का सवाल ही नहीं उठता है, कितने भी चुनाव हारे या जीते। और ये भी मैंने कहा था कि अगर ऐसा परिस्थिति रहेगी, हार होती रहेगी तो चलेगा, मैं वक्त आया तो कुएं में कूद जाऊंगा, पर कांग्रेस में नहीं जाऊंगा।
और वो बार बार आता है, अभी भी रिसेंटली फिर से आया, वही बात उठी थी जब कांग्रेस कह रहे थे कि क्योंकि आपके संबंध इतने अच्छे हैं ना।
एक बात जरूर है कि मेरे संबंध सभी पार्टियों के अच्छे हैं। मुझे इस बात की बहुत खुशी है कि मेरे डिपार्टमेंट पर जब चर्चा हो रही थी, तो उस दिन मैंने हमारे राज्य मंत्री जी को कहा था कि आप इसका जवाब दो, पर मुझे बाद में हमारे स्पीकर साहब का फ़ोन है, बिरला जी का, कि यहाँ सब लोग आपके बारे में इतनी तारीफ़ कर रहे हैं, अच्छा बोल रहे हैं, और आप सभागृह में नहीं है। तो मैंने कहा मैं तो नागपुर में हूँ। बोले आप ज़रूर आइए। फिर मैं तुरंत आया। 75 लोग अक्रॉस द पार्टी, सब लोगों ने, ऑल पार्टी के लोगों ने, हर व्यक्ति ने मुझे धन्यवाद दिया और मेरा अभिनंदन किया। तो बाद में स्पीकर साहब ने कहा कि ये पार्लियामेंट के इतिहास का ऐसा पहला उदाहरण है कि एक मंत्री की तारीफ ऑल सेक्शंस और सभी पार्टियों ने की। तो मैंने कहा मेरा आइडियोलॉजी पक्की है, मैं आरएसएस का स्वयंसेवक हूँ, बीजेपी का कार्यकर्ता हूँ। ये सब होने के बाद भी लोगों ने मुझे एक प्रकार से इतना अप्रिशिएट किया, इसके लिए मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई। पर इसका सबसे बड़ा कारण है कि मैं ये सोचता हूँ कि मैं पार्टी का कार्यकर्ता हूँ, पार्टी का सांसद हूँ, पर सरकार देश की है।
और इसलिए मोदी जी ने भी कहा है कि सबका साथ, सबका विकास, सबका प्रयास। तो मैंने कहा मैं सबके काम जो होने लायक होते हैं सबके करता हूँ, मैंने काम में कभी पॉलिटिक्स नहीं किया। और यही बात बीजेपी ने हमें सिखाई गई है, और यही कि सबके साथ न्याय करना चाहिए, यही बात हमको मजबूती देती है।
तो जब आप व्हेन यू मेक द रोड, ज़रूरी नहीं कि सिर्फ वो बीजेपी